Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news. Now folks, what a time to be a Falcons fan. The NFL landscape is always shifting, but right now, there's a buzz around the NFC South that you simply can't ignore. The Falcons, after a solid if somewhat inconsistent 2024 season, are positioning themselves for something bigger. And in the middle of that conversation, a major player trade rumor is gaining steam, one that could reshape the Falcons' offense, and potentially their entire trajectory in the league. We're talking about the possibility of the Atlanta Falcons making a bold move to acquire Cleveland Browns tight end David Njoku. Yes, you heard that right. Njoku, a player who's been on the NFL radar for years now, is seen as a potential game-changer for Atlanta. But before we dive into why this move makes so much sense, and what it could mean for the Falcons, let's take a step back and look at the context surrounding this rumor, because it's not happening in a vacuum. It's part of a broader narrative about where both franchises are right now and where they're headed in the coming seasons. First, let's discuss the Falcons' current tight end situation. Kyle Pitts, the former 4th overall pick, was supposed to be Atlanta's franchise tight end, the guy who would finally unlock the offense's full potential. Drafted as the highest drafted tight end in NFL history, Pitts came into the league with sky-high expectations. The hype was real. You watched his college tape, saw his athleticism, and thought this guy could be a perennial Pro Bowler. But what's happened since then? Well, it's been complicated. Pitts has shown flashes of brilliance, no doubt. When used correctly, he's a matchup nightmare due to his size, speed, and athleticism. But the problem is, consistency has been elusive. His production has been underwhelming. Since his rookie season, Pitts has never really put up the numbers that match his draft status. He's caught no more than 55 passes or surpassed 700 yards in any of his seasons, which, frankly, is disappointing for a player of his caliber. And let's not forget, he's missed some games due to injuries. 10 games in 2022, for example, which is understandable, but in 2023 and 2024, he played all 17 games each season. Yet the numbers just didn't materialize. The Falcons have invested a lot in Pitts, draft capital, salary, and expectations. But the truth is, he hasn't quite lived up to that hype. And with the team already showing promise, especially with a developing quarterback like Michael Penix Jr., there's a real opportunity to optimize the offensive weapons around him. But the question is, can Pitts be the centerpiece of that offense? Or perhaps, is it better to pivot and look elsewhere? That brings us to the intriguing idea of trading for David Njoku. Now, Njoku is an interesting player, an athletic, versatile tight end who has been a significant part of Cleveland's offense. The Browns, however, are in a bit of a mess right now. Their roster is in a state of flux, and they're not exactly contenders at this moment. There's a lot of speculation that Cleveland is going to shake things up, especially with the recent draft moves, and the fact that they just spent a 3rd-round pick on Harold Fannin Jr., a promising young tight end who many scouts see as a future star. So why would the Browns consider moving Njoku? Well, for starters, Njoku is set to be a free agent in 2026. His value is high, and Cleveland might want to capitalize on that before his market price drops or they're forced to lose him for nothing. Plus, with Fannin in the fold, a guy who on film looks like a potential matchup nightmare, the Browns could be thinking long-term. They're investing heavily in Fannin, and at only 20 years old, he represents a future that might eventually eclipse Njoku's current role. From Atlanta's perspective, adding Njoku makes perfect sense. The Falcons are a team on the rise, with a young, talented core and a quarterback in Penix Jr., who is showing flashes of greatness. The offense is already looking dangerous with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Darnell Mooney. But Njoku could be the final piece that elevates the unit to elite status. His ability to stretch the field, block effectively, and create mismatches in the passing game would give Atlanta a much-needed weapon, especially in the red zone and on third downs. Now some might wonder, why not just stick with Pitts? Well, it's a fair question. Pitt's ceiling is undeniably high, but his floor has been quite low, and perhaps the team needs a fresh start at that position. Also, considering Njoku's style of play, more consistent production, better blocking, and a higher level of reliability, he could be the guy who helps unlock the Falcons' offense even further. Plus, there's the aspect of team chemistry and scheme fit. Njoku's game is well suited for Atlanta's offensive philosophy, which emphasizes versatility and athleticism at the tight end position. Let's talk about the potential trade specifics for a moment. The Browns, in this scenario, are looking to move Njoku before his value drops too much. Given that they already have Fannin and are building for the future, it makes sense. They could be looking for draft picks or young players in return. For Atlanta, acquiring Njoku would likely involve some combination of draft picks, maybe a mid-round pick or two, and perhaps a player swap or a conditional future pick to sweeten the deal. It's all about making the numbers work, but the strategic fit is undeniable. And what about the broader implications? Well, if Atlanta pulls this off, it signals a clear intent to compete now, not just in a couple of years. It shows they're willing to make bold moves, invest in proven talent, and make a statement that they're serious about contending in the NFC South and beyond. This kind of trade could shake up the division. If the Falcons add a player like Njoku, their offense instantly becomes more dynamic, more unpredictable, and more difficult for defenses to match up against. There's also the aspect of the NFC South's current landscape. Teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints, and even the Carolina Panthers are all trying to find their footing after some turbulent seasons. Atlanta, with a young core and an improving defense, has a real shot to take control of the division if they continue to develop and make smart moves like this one. The addition of a player like Njoku could be the catalyst that pushes them from playoff hopefuls to division champions and serious Super Bowl contenders. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on the bigger picture. The NFL is a league where teams are constantly adjusting, evolving, and making moves to gain an edge. The Falcons have shown they're not afraid to be aggressive, whether it was their draft strategy, free agency signings, or trade talks. This potential Njoku trade fits perfectly into that mold. It's about seizing opportunities, recognizing talent that fits the scheme, and building a roster capable of competing at the highest level. And for the Browns, parting ways with Njoku might be a tough decision, but it could be the best move to accelerate their rebuild. With Fannin's potential and the draft capital they could acquire, they're setting themselves up for a future where they can finally contend again. It's all about making smart, strategic decisions that prioritize long-term success over short-term gains. Moving Njoku now while his market value is high, especially with a promising rookie in Fannin emerging, makes perfect sense from Cleveland's perspective. Before we wrap up, I want to emphasize how much this potential move excites me. As a Falcons fan, it shows that the franchise is serious about contending and is willing to make bold moves to get there. The NFC South is wide open right now, with Tampa Bay's recent struggles, New Orleans trying to find consistency, and Carolina still rebuilding. The Falcons have a real shot to take control if they add the right pieces, and Njoku could be one of those pieces. It's a move that signals ambition, a move that could set the tone for the upcoming seasons. So, as we keep an eye on this story developing, remember, player trades are more than just transactions, they're statements of intent. They reflect a team's vision for the future and their willingness to adapt to the ever-changing NFL landscape. The Falcons are in a prime position to make a splash, and adding Njoku could be that splash that propels them into serious championship contention. We'll see how it unfolds, but one thing is for sure, it's an exciting time to be a Falcons fan. The best is yet to come, and I can't wait to see how this story develops in the coming weeks. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Atlanta Falcons news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential trade? Do you think the Falcons should go all in for Njoku? Would you prefer to see them stick with Pitts, develop him further, or do you believe Njoku is the missing piece to unlock that next level? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion really matters, not just to us but to the future of this team. We're all in this together, dreaming of that Super Bowl run, and the moves made today could define the Falcons' future for years to come. And don't forget, I'll be back very soon with more updates, analysis, and insider news on the Falcons and the NFL at large. Stay tuned, stay passionate, and let's keep this hype train rolling. The NFL season is getting closer, and with each passing day, the pieces are falling into place for what could be one of the most exciting chapters in Atlanta Falcons history. Thanks for being with me, and as always, fight on, Falcons fans.